Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to be back with you again today. And my goodness, please be sure that you listen to the pre-call. It was such good information, and we are getting ready to lead into even more good information. So today, we are talking about awakening the leader within. And just think about the visuals that you think about when you say those words. And we are excited to use these ideas to really help us grow inward and outward this year. And I once again get to work alongside this incredible team with Barb Lagoni at the helm, and we've got Margaret Trost with us, Lisa Anderson, Angie Thomas, Francine Rowling. We've got some wonderful guest speakers that are going to join us today too, that I'm thrilled to hear their stories as well. So let's just jump right into the objectives. I love this theme, thinking bigger, reaching higher. And it's simple, and yet it is a stretch. And that is exactly our themes for this semester. We are going to be expanding our thinking and seeing really what does lie inside each of us, including picturing ourselves achieving these upper ranks of executive coordinator, senior executive coordinator, key coordinator, and really figuring out, even from our personal levels, envisioning what would our life look like if we had the rank means something, but it also represents a lot. There's income that comes with that. There's a team that comes with that. Just really picturing ourselves. We're going to be talking about some of those things today. When we achieve those ranks, we are assembling a team. We are learning how to lead. And it really is this process of kind of working from the inside out. And there are perks that are coming with these two ranks, starting off with the automatic qualification of the top achievers trip to China, and when you achieve key coordinator, and then stay tuned, there's more. And I don't know what the more is yet, but Barb says there's more. That's right.
I'm just Barb.
I know.
No, but you know, the important thing about that, and the reason we keep bringing it up each week, is, and you're going to hear Crystal share some insights about this today, is that we need to keep talking about key coordinator and talking about executive coordinator so we can see ourselves there. That's why it's so important. And the company recognizes how important these two ranks are in leading our company into the future. And so they are looking at making some interesting shifts to reward folks because there are skills that you learn to develop to director, right? You learn customer development, and you learn your systems for meeting new people, and you learn how to, service your customers. But when you move to executive coordinator, you are learning now how to coach and develop an organization, and they're different skills, so they recognize that. And that's what we're beginning right here, is that we're going to become an executive coordinator on the inside first before we can make it happen on the outside. And that's what today is all about. Okay, so Becky, there's my next rooster picture. Carry on.
Yes, exactly. And so again, we're going to be talking about just awakening the leader within us, and what journey do we need to begin on or stay on. Some of you have already been doing a lot of this head work and really working through some different things, and so we want to catch up to you and then continue on that journey with you. So we're going to really learn some lessons today in leadership from 3 of our leaders, and I'm so excited to hear each of them. And they're each at different stages, which I think is really nice, just for kind of seeing different thought processes at different stages in their Shaklee journeys, and then also just outlining the skills that they needed to develop, the new thinking that was necessary. They, of course, all of us are going to have challenges. How did they overcome them? And then how did that take them to their goals? And then they're going to share some personal experiences. And really talking about that there is so much more that lies within ourselves when we really believe that it's possible. And so we are excited to get started today. And so
Margaret is beginning, but
yes.
But we put that rooster in there again, Margaret.
I
to
love
remind
that
us.
rooster. It's so beautiful, and I'm out here in California, so we're just waking up around here, and that is just, I
Wake
can
up,
hear the
rooster.
rooster waking me up. It's awesome.
But the image of the rooster, and the Chinese New Year just began this week. The image of the rooster is about awakening within ourselves, what we're going to be talking about today, and beginning on that journey of awakening leadership within ourselves, but also understand that part of our work is about awakening within others the awareness of the importance of wellness and prevention, and even the importance of what Trevor was telling us in the pre-call today of starting a home business. Is amazing what that does for financial security for our homes. So with that, Margaret, over to you, and you get us started.
All right. Well, I am going to share a bit of my Shaklee journey through the lens of leadership to, I hope, inspire everybody to see how there's sometimes you just don't think you've got it, and it's in there somewhere. It just needs to be uncovered when it comes to leadership. And I put this picture of me. I'm 29 years old in this picture. It's about to be 30, and Luke, who's 24 now, is just this little baby. And I've already had about 2 years of Shaklee business under my belt, although I was not able to really get the business to move forward. Many of you know my story. I won't go into great detail here, only to say that when I started in Shaklee, it was a very slow start because of these bullet points that I'm going to read here that didn't really show me that I had leadership. I didn't really believe I was a leader. I was very comfortable assisting others, kind of being in the background. And before Shaklee, I worked in public television behind the camera. I had no interest in being in front of the camera, no interest in speaking or being visible. I liked the details and the production aspects behind the camera. And that's who I thought I was. I thought I was behind the camera kind of gal, not on the microphone, certainly not on a call like this, not anybody who gives speeches, not anybody who draws attention to herself. I was like the detail organizer behind the scenes, and I thought that was it for the rest of my life, and quite comfortable there. So I didn't see myself as a leader. I realized that I've got language for it now, but at the time I don't know if I would have been able to put words on it. But I was very afraid of making mistakes, afraid of doing something wrong, afraid of not being enough. I was worried about what other people thought of me. So I really tried to do things perfectly or in a way that wouldn't offend anybody and that would make everybody happy around me. So the way that I interacted was very hard working to make everybody happy and to do the best job possible, hopefully not making a mistake because I could not stand conflict. So this is kind of the way I was working in the world and was very successful in my career in television and had a lot of confidence in that behind-the-scene role. What I didn't know until I started my Shaklee business was that I had this very deep-seated fear of rejection. I would not have known that had that been for Shaklee. Thank you, Shaklee, for being a mirror. It really can be a mirror, and it has been for me, kind of reflecting myself back to me, the parts that need to be seen that I might not see otherwise. And this is why, for me, I feel Shaklee has just been the most extraordinary personal development vehicle. Whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, it lifts up the areas that need to be looked at so that we can grow. So I didn't know that until Shaklee, when I was realized when I got my first no, I'm not interested in basic H response, that it created this like reverberation, like it was the end of the world in my heart and in my body, just like, and I didn't want to experience that again, so I stopped talking to people early on. So this fear of rejection was in there. I played things safe and small so there'd be no chance of conflict. And what all of this did was that I really withheld my voice. I often held back my opinion. I didn't really feel the value of it, and because I was afraid of conflict or upsetting people or judgment or criticism, I would be more silent, the silent person in the room. And all of this is revolving around pleasing people. So this is kind of, I wanted to share this because now I'm a key coordinator and have been for many, many years and have been involved in a lot of leadership things in Shaklee and outside of it. And some of you know me from that place. I just thought it was important to go back to the beginning when I never imagined any of this was possible. And I really was convinced that my personality and what my path was on earth was in this quieter, behind the scenes, not sharing my voice, helping other people who had the personalities and the leadership qualities that I didn't. And I was actually quite content to that. So I just didn't know. So also, though, because of my life and just the way it had unfolded until I was about 30 years old, and there's Luke born, and me wanting to be home so desperately with him, but not having the volume or the income in Shaklee at that point because I wasn't a director yet and I was struggling with these things. I couldn't make that a reality. But I hadn't done any self-reflection yet in my life. I'd gone through 3 decades of living, had not really learned about self-reflection, about pausing to go inside, to ask some questions. I did not know myself well. I didn't know the power of my thoughts and habits of thinking and judgments and ideas that I had about myself and my fears and how that then impacted my whole life. I just didn't know yet. So what I realized over the years since that time is when we become conscious of our fears, of our thoughts, of what goes on inside our heads and inside ourselves, it's like shining the light of awareness onto it. It begins to lose its power. It's not unconscious anymore. It becomes conscious, and just in that, just in becoming aware of it, it starts to dissolve a bit. There starts to be some space, and there's the opportunity for change. So the next stage in awakening my leader within and the leader within came as I started to become aware of these thoughts, and I became a new director and building to coordinator, and how I was able to do that and just start to get things rolling from that fear to talk to anybody and that fear of rejection to then just getting together the volume for director and then beginning to approach other people about the business, just getting things rolling. To me, the absolute key was personal development. I would not have learned this stuff had I not actually had personal development books, CDs, classes, workshops. I mean, there are people whose whole careers are to help us understand what goes on in our heads and inside of us and how to work with that to change things so that we can shift our attitudes and expand our beliefs and develop more confidence. I mean, it's just a whole thing. So thanks to Shaklee, I was exposed to personal development, and I dove in because it was very empowering when I realized there were some things I could do to stop this kind of cycle of fear that was holding me back from my goals. So part of what I learned early on was the power of creating a vision that engages the heart deeply. We talked a bit about this in the first session or a couple weeks ago, and to me this was so key. It's like I could not get off the starting blocks until I was so deeply inspired inside my soul. It's like I had to excavate deep. Now I've talked to other people who are like, they didn't have to excavate deep to get to director and coordinator. There was something that their vision was there, and it was right in front of them and inspired them, and off they went. To me, it's like I had to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper inside of me. It's just my life path, and find a vision that got me very, very inspired, where my heart was on board. I felt like my soul was on board. Everybody's on board. And this allowed me to enroll others and overcome my fears, because when I created this vision of a network of moms, which is how I personalized Dr. Shaklee's vision and personalized Barb Lagoni's vision, she had her vision, all these visions inspired me outside of myself. I had to go into my heart and soul to find out what would inspire me so much that I would actually pick up the phone, even though I was terrified and shaking in my boots, calling. And that had to do with this network of moms. And once I wrote it down and I described what it would feel like if this network of moms came to be, and there was all these women working together, and we were going to help change the habits of people that polluted the water in Lake Monona and Lake Mendota, Wisconsin, where I was living at the time, and help empower people to have information around the business and the products. Once I really got in there, then it's like, okay, that got stronger than the fear of rejection. Connecting with what was true to me deep inside started to get bigger than the worry of what other people would think, and that they wouldn't be my friends anymore, and they would laugh at me and say that I was doing something that was, illegal or whatever fears that, I would make up that people would have. So that vision, I learned that as one of the very first things in personal development. I believed them. I did the exercises. I did it. It made a huge difference. And I realized when I started to share that vision that people want to follow someone who's going somewhere. And that's a big part of leadership, right? A leader's leading people to a place or to something, right? And before that, I was building my Shaklee business without a real compelling vision that I wasn't really sharing where I was going. I was just showing the catalog, or I was just sharing that, boy, I really like these products. But there wasn't any place I was headed with it. There wasn't anything that I was sharing that I was excited to then create and invite them to come with me. I was missing that piece, and so there was nobody who was following me until I created this vision and started to share it and enroll others. So that was exciting to learn that leaders you need to be going somewhere. And I learned how to use my imagination as a tool to see myself as a leader of a large organization. And this is what we were saying earlier about seeing yourself on the inside as an executive coordinator before it can happen on the outside, or seeing yourself on the inside as a director before you can manifest that outside. There is kind of this internal prerequisite to then creating something on the outside. It's just part of how things work when we're creating things. If we don't believe it's possible, or we don't think we can do it, then it's most likely we're not going to be able to do it. So I didn't think I could do it. I had to shift it. I used my imagination, visualization, affirming thoughts, a lot of the tools that I learned in the personal development classes to really work with my thoughts. And I had this playlist of songs. I like music, and music can really get me pumped up. If I'm watching the Olympics on TV and somebody's got some music going on, I'm excited. I'm like ready to run that race. Like something happened. And I don't know if there's others of you listening out here who have that relationship with music, but if we know that music inspires us, or we can jog or do our workout if we got music in our ears, and suddenly we get this extra adrenaline pumping and we get some joy going and we're like moving and shaking, then I would invite you to consider creating a playlist of songs that inspire you, that talk about reaching your goals, or talk about breaking through barriers, or climbing a mountain, or you can do it, or that. And that's what I did. And I would visualize myself doing my plan and activities and talking to people and having to be interested and excited and seeing my Shaklee business grow in the movie that I created in my mind. And the music would help me create these pictures, and it would get me inspired. And then I would pick up the phone and have a real productive and powerful day of activity. So I had to get myself psyched. And with this personal development, I began to see myself as a businesswoman for the first time. Yeah.
Margaret, can I add something
Please.
in there?
Yeah.
I love everything you are saying, and just have learned so much from you over the years. And I think one of the things that just hit me today that I hadn't really thought about, because my journey, I think I was a little bit of a slower starter as well, and so appreciated your training and what you taught our team about getting to that first level of director. But I really hadn't thought about that. Some people might just get to director or senior director or coordinator very fine. But
Right.
What's happening is that sometimes, usually in our journey, no matter what level we are, we have to implement some of these things that we're going to be talking about today. Because if you are going to expand or do things bigger, sometimes we have unknowingly capped ourselves. And so it's kind of realizing how to unscrew the cap, that we have a limitless ability. And that it might be for somebody like Margaret and me, that it was more in the early stages, or it might be later in your Shaklee career, but all of this is important. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, that's so helpful, Becky, because it's true. Each one of us has a unique life path. It's very important not to compare one path with another. We're all growing. We're all learning. I feel like I'm learning a lot about leadership right now in my life at the age of 54. It's like, wow, it's like another level of growth and leadership that's coming in. So we're on our unique paths. Somewhere along the line, we can count on it, we'll be stopped. Like what the goal might be, or where we might want to go is beyond where we see ourselves. So it could happen any time along the way. And then these very tools that I'm talking about here that I used early on and still use to this day could be applicable for other people later. This is from Dr. Forrest Shaklee. He's written a book, he wrote a book, Reflections on a Philosophy, and it's so interesting that here we are talking about personal development and how it was like this major aha with me when I realized that our thoughts matter and I need to pay attention to them. And here our whole company was founded by a man who wrote a book about this very thing. I mean, it's kind of like in my life path and destiny, I had to come across this. So of all the companies that come to me, it's like the personal development company, that what we think we look, what we think we do, what we think we are, meaning what we think matters, and we can make choices around what kind of thoughts we entertain and give energy to and what we don't. And Dr. Forrest Shaklee was a master at this and wrote a whole philosophy about it. So I just think that's kind of awesome. So, okay, so I'm just going to move through some of these a little more quickly, just to say that I began to recognize self-defeating behaviors in myself. I also was able to see some of those things in other people as I started to coach and work with people. Because they're pretty classic. We're human beings. We have various behaviors that are part of our habits of thought. And the people pleaser, I talked to you earlier about that because I definitely had that behavior, so that you kind of lose yourself while you're pleasing everybody else, you know. The tap dancer is another one. Barb gave me these 5 examples, which are great. Maybe some of you will see yourself in one of these, or maybe you know some people where tap dancer may be a little challenging to make a commitment for different reasons or fears. Perfectionist, I definitely had that, where you're just working hard, so hard you have to know everything perfectly so that you never talk to anybody because you don't know it all perfectly, or you never quite get that newsletter out because it's not perfect, or, you know, it really can slow things down. And or I can't do the sales plan because I don't know it perfectly. I might make mistakes, so I can't show it yet. I got to study it more. You know, that whole thing. I know that well. The martyr, Barb, how did you describe the martyr? You were so funny because I have this too within me. What was it? Like, oh, that's okay. I'll do it. Or something. Well, I don't know. These are just different patterns.
No,
and then the
one's, you all go to the movies and I'll stay home and wash the dishes. No, it's okay.
It's okay.
I don't mind.
Right. I'll do it all. Right.
You all go on the Shaklee trip, but I'll stay back here.
So perhaps not in touch or communicating clearly or directly your own feelings as a martyr. And then the caretaker, this is a tricky one in Shaklee because we love to serve and help others and can get in a habit where we're doing so much caretaking for other people, even to the point of building their own business for them, that's not exactly healthy. So there's different self-defeating behaviors. There's, you know, very positive parts of ways of being, and then there's also kind of a shadow side. And so there's a shadow side of these 5 things that can be very difficult and make it tough. And so you really want to become aware of this to see if any of this stuff is operating within you. So I started to get aware of these habits of thinking, started to make some changes. My biggest ongoing challenge had to do with thoughts, though, negative thoughts in my head. Yeah. And I realized, this is a great quote, don't believe everything you think. So I was very, I'm like, oh, if I think it, it must be true, right? Wrong, right? So don't believe everything you think. That's what I realized. So I'm watching my self-talk. I remember someone saying, write down your self-talk about your Shaklee business for a day and see what it is. I was like, oh, okay, that'll be kind of a pain because, boy, that's going to take a long time. But, boy, was that good work. Because I'm like, oh, boy, this is really hard. Oh, I don't have enough time. Gosh, I'm not sure. She's probably going to say, no, this isn't going to work. Geez, when am I ever going to get that volume? Boy, that's really far. I don't know. Oh, gosh, I'm so tired. I don't really have any time. Oh, geez, I haven't done anything. Boy, I'm a terrible person. I'm not good at this. I was like, oh, man. I mean, maybe I'm like a real extreme case, but I'm serious. That was my self-talk when things weren't rolling. And I didn't know it because the thoughts come so fast. My brain, my thoughts are like generating like a mile a minute. And the majority of them, when it came to Shaklee, were not positive and they weren't supporting my goals. So I became aware of this. That's the key. Shine a light on it. And then work to choose thoughts that generate courage to take action and to pick up the phone. There is this old Cherokee kind of myth or story that has been on the internet and shared in different circles for many, many years. And I thought I'd share it here because I found it really helpful. We got these 2 lovely pictures of wolves that Barb found. Thank you, Barb. And so there's an old Cherokee, a Native American, teaching his grandson about life. And he says, a fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy, a terrible fight between 2 wolves. One is evil. He is anger and envy and sorrow and regret and greed and arrogance and self-pity and guilt and resentment and inferiority and lies and false pride and superiority and ego. The other is good. He is joy and peace and love and hope and serenity and humility and kindness and benevolence and empathy and generosity and truth and compassion and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. Mm-hmm. And so I learned to recognize that I had these different thoughts of love and hope and serenity and kindness, and then I had also thoughts of inferiority and guilt and not good enough and regret. And I had all of this going on, and when I started to look at it, I realized that if I could feed thoughts and they would get bigger. And if you feed the ones where I can't do it and this is terrible and it's so hard and everybody doesn't like me and blah 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 blah, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I learned to stop doing that. And it made a really big difference in my business. And as I became more conscious of my thought patterns and made choices, it's like there were breakthroughs. It was like I made a choice to not feed those negative thoughts, and then I would gain some confidence, and then my self-esteem grew, and I started to feel empowered because I realized that I had a choice here, and it wasn't just like a whole bunch of jumbled thoughts. So this was very empowering for me, and I really worked on it on a daily basis with my journal, and really took it seriously because I knew for me this was the key. So there's all this head work, but in addition to this, I realized I need to put these new tools that I'm getting in my head, this new awareness, into action, because you can have a great vision, but if you're not putting it into action, it is not going to happen. So you have to act. And so it's a blend of the inside and learning the patterns, which of course I'm still working on my patterns. It's not like we figure it out and then we're done. It's like, no, we just become aware of it and we get more skillful over time. And we want to put it into action. So I made a study of the business. I studied that sales plan. I got out the calculator. I'm like, okay, if I really want to be home with my baby and I really want to grow to director and to coordinator and then to executive coordinator beyond, I got to understand this business. I got to take it seriously. I need to study this compensation plan. I need to study the network marketing industry. Here I am, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and I'm uncomfortable with the network marketing business. I was back then. I feel a little ashamed about it, a little shy about it, a little like something's not, and so then I needed to get a book. I needed to understand it, change my business dramatically, because then I saw it as a marketing system without a personality. It's who we are that plugs into it, and the company that plugs into it that can kind of determine whether it can really be a force for a real beautiful thing or perhaps something that's not as beautiful. It really depends upon the company and the person. And so I really got it, and I felt like I went to a little business school to understand just the power of network marketing and the beauty and potential with it, especially when you're working with such an extraordinary company like Shaklee with heart and with the desire to make a difference. So once I studied it, then it's like I got it. But for years I hadn't, so that's what was, just had to get serious here. And I became proud to be associated with Shaklee, which meant I started to share the business a lot because I understood it with greater depth, not perfectly because I was letting go of the perfectionist thing, but enough to be able to share it. And I created concrete goals and written monthly plans, and there was lots of activity in there with face-to-face people because I knew that was the way to really grow. And I created customer and business builder follow-up systems and plugged into training and created training for business partners and listened to lots of tapes way back then in the day, CDs later. Now MP3s, to be a continual learner. And of course, all of these things have been discussed on these wonderful training calls. I just wanted to put it here because it's one thing to really become aware of your thought patterns and to really step beyond them. And it's another thing to take those and then apply it. And every time you act, every time you pick up the phone, every time you work on your plan, you gain confidence. It's really by doing it that you can break through a lot of these patterns, become aware, and then step through it by action. So, because I was willing to examine my fears and other resistances I had inside, especially in Shaklee, to calling people, setting up meetings, talking about Shaklee anyway, pretty much at the beginning, because I was willing to take that time to examine it and work to overcome them and to pursue my vision, learning how to care deeply about it without being attached to the timing or the exact result of it, which is very freeing when you are able to do that. And without obsessing about what other people would think, but trusting my heart and the soul within me and the messages I felt I was getting for my life, to trust that more than being worried about others would think. And because I was willing to step outside my comfort zone over and over and over again, I learned through the courses I took how important that was, and important to be vulnerable and share from your heart, and to acknowledge that Shaklee is not going to be a perfect for anyone, but to invite anyway, to ask anyway. And because I was willing to invest in myself and with time to do this inner reflection and inner work, and also with money. There were coaches and workshops and books along the way, and therapy and other things that really helped me grow on the inside. I feel like we are our biggest asset, and there's this leader within that wants to shine and wants to be free and wants to speak and wants to lead, but there may be obstructions, fears, and thoughts that are in her way. We're our biggest asset. So through all that, I discovered the leader within. So just in summary, what I learned, there are many things I learned. I'm just going to highlight a few of the ones that were really key, and they seem so obvious, and I might be the only person on the planet who doesn't get this, but there will be difficulties. I don't know why I thought that if you're in the flow, right, then it should be easy. Where did I learn that? I don't know. Not true. There will be difficulties, and we learn to see them as opportunities for growth, because there will be challenges. There will be challenging people that are part of the path, and it's through challenging people. Sometimes there are angels in disguise because they've challenged you to look at something differently, or they challenge you to grow in a new way. So the challenges are important, and usually we grow the most when there has been a challenge. And I had this one, I was frustrated about something that was really complicated and not going well, and I thought, gosh, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this working out? And I heard this voice inside, and it didn't sound like me, so it sounded really deep, like the voice of God inside that said, who said it was going to be easy? Mm-hmm. And it really stopped me, because I realized, that's right, nobody said it was going to be easy. Why did I think that it was going to be easy? So if I believe in it and my heart's in it, let me work with it, and let me embrace the obstacles and the challenges and the people, and learn from it and grow, and know that life is full of challenges, and that's part of it. So there will be help with those challenges, mentors and colleagues and friends. And I wrote signs. I see there's a literal sign there. Keep going. You can do this. That sign might pop up when you're driving through Arizona or something. But I look for signs, whether it's a song on the radio that's an encouraging song right when I was feeling discouraged, or whether a book falls off the shelf and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should read that. Or it could be a voice inside that is an encouraging and loving voice. It could be all sorts of things. And I look for those, and I count on them, and I know that they're there, and that keeps me going. And there's always more to discover about ourselves as we learn and grow. We remove those obstacles so we can come through, that leader, and who knows what else is inside us, come through to be expressed. We're so much more than we think, and the journey, it's going to take us somewhere we're meant to go. It may be different than what we thought originally, but it's going to be powerful, because we'll be connecting with our full, deep selves, and we want to bless every step of it, and bless the bumps, the challenges. We'll be better for them, and so will the world, as we grow and shine and discover the leader within. Petit petit n'arrive is my favorite Creole saying from Haiti. It means little by little we will arrive, which values the small steps and the small lessons and the little steps that we take as we grow.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of a wrap. I just put this in because I thought it was great. You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself. From The Wizard of Oz, that was Glenda. So it's like within us. I feel like we've got it in us. The leader's in us. The power, it's in us. We have to learn it through ourselves, through inner reflection and then outer action.
Oh,
that's a wrap for me.
That's a wrap for you. All right. So, Margaret, why don't you go ahead and introduce Crystal?
Oh, the amazing Crystal Johnson joining us from the Atlanta, Georgia area, has a beautiful story of leadership that is growing, and she's had such an amazing year in the last few years, and is developing a beautiful team there and really discovering more and more about her leader within. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Crystal, because you have a leadership event that you're going to just after this call, and you're going to be leading, I think, a chairwoman of a committee, right? So we got to let you go so you can begin and then go lead.
Yes, I am. And I was actually thinking, Margaret, that maybe I would just pass after you did such a great job there. Maybe I could just take a pass on this for now.
No, that's part of leadership. Go for it, honey.
Yeah, right. So, well, and in case everyone doesn't know, when to put these webinars together. Barb does so much work. I've talked to her a couple times, Margaret a couple times, and this has been for more than a week now just to put this presentation on for everyone. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work, and we appreciate you, Barb.
We do, and your leadership, Barb.
When in the process of talking to Barb a little while ago, I mentioned to her that when Shaklee came out with their announcement that this was the year of the key coordinator, I was talking to my friend Susan, and we were like, what? What are they talking about? What about all the rest of us? Look at the key coordinator, how far up on the chart that is, and how could we even possibly get there this year? And so that was kind of my initial reaction of no way. And then I started reflecting on it more and thinking, well, okay, what does that really mean? What is key coordinator? Let's pull out that dream chart that's always right here on my desk and have a look at it. And where is key coordinator? And why is key coordinator so key to Shaklee? And yeah, look at that. It sits right above the halfway point on the number of ranks you can achieve in Shaklee. And then I really started to consider it more deeply over the next week or so. Okay, fine. I must have pulled out that chart 4 or 5 different times and looked at it and gone and went back to it, because to me, key coordinator was always what Margaret is, and that's way up there and way out of reach. So I started looking at, okay, what if I were a key coordinator? How much would I need to do? How much would I make? And okay, that's around $90,000 a year. When do I want to make that? And if I were making that, wouldn't that be a great retirement? And that is really what I've always said, and I say all the time to people, is that Shaklee is my retirement plan. So, but what came first for me was I really started looking inward more over the past year. I had a lot of activities going on in the last year. I joined a number of new networking groups, and I decided to get more involved in the community than I already was, and some of it just kind of happened from being in one group, and then you get asked to be in another group and checking them out. And I really then started to realize that you can only do so many things and be in so many places at so many times. So looking inward was really more of what I needed to do to decide for me where is the joy in what I'm doing, and to choose the things that will help me to grow the most and to help others grow around me, and to make my to get my business healthier and me and my whole life. And it cracks me up that Barb chose this flower for the bottom of here, because she was just like, oh, Crystal, I've got this beautiful flower that's blooming that I'll put on the bottom of your slide. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when she puts it on there, that's a passion flower, Barb, which is just very appropriate.
Yes.
You probably should mention that you are a master gardener, and that's where the flower comparison came in. A passion flower.
That's how she knows that's a passion flower, just by looking at that.
I know, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But yes, I am, and so I do a lot of my a lot of things come back to the earth for me. A lot of what makes me most happy inwardly and outwardly is come back to connection to the earth for me. And so then I got this new day planner that my friend Laura Toso said, hey, Crystal, and she said to all of us in our coaching circle, hey, I'm going to get this new planner. You might check it out. And I looked at it and I ordered it. And it came toward the end of the year in December, and it when I opened it up and looked at it, it asked, it asked some questions. What are you excited about? And then it asks in the front to reflect on some of the highlights of the past year. And, you fill out these pages in the beginning to get your mind in the right place before setting down real, quarterly and monthly goals for the year, which is very different from any planner that I had done before. So I was like, okay, I'll go with it. And I wrote down a list of, that's what this list is here, some of the activities that I did last year. I did a couple of John Maxwell mastermind books and that Playing Big book in a mastermind group that was, we ended up going 10 weeks with that and a Maxwell training class, and I was accepted into the community leadership class, which is a 1-year commitment. That's a big deal. I've been wanting to do that for a few years, and it's also a big commitment. I was elected chair to keep Forsyth County beautiful and invited on 2 other committees for the Chamber of Commerce to help advance women in the community and to help to the Chamber to really steer their programs toward what's most beneficial for our county. And that's a big deal for me because when I joined the Chamber of Commerce 4 years ago, I went in there not knowing anyone and to some of the first networking meetings and felt like I had the plague and no one wanted to talk to me because I was a network marketer, and felt that way for most of the first year that I was in, but I stayed in and started to make more connections, and then my goal went from just being able to talk with people easily in that environment to I really want to make the Chamber of Commerce in our community recognize network marketing as a real business, as real as any brick and mortar business that is down the road from me. Mm-hmm. And being asked to be on these 2 committees is huge for me getting there. Mm-hmm. And then meanwhile, I was working in my Shaklee business, which all ties into all of this because it is, I've always said Shaklee is a part of my life, and it is a big part of my life, but it's not my whole life. And I had a very good year last year, but it wasn't just because of me. It was because of my whole group and everyone around me and all the support that I get as well. And then toward the end of the year, in October, we had a retreat, an Indiana retreat at Barb's for my coaching circle, except Susan, who had already gone, and Margaret, and we explored some other discussions, some like Margaret you just talked about, some of the training that you had that you had shared with us there. And one thing that really came out for me in that environment was that I had some things to face from how I was brought up in an environment that is very critical, and the way I learned to cope with that was to, turn to more facts and figures, and nothing really bothers me that much. It just brush it off. But in fact, it was really more of a coping mechanism for me. So I really had to go in and look at that harder, and have been since then. And then the end of the year, my planner came, and then that's always in December. This is the 3rd year that I have done this book called One Word, where you choose one word for your next year, and you really do look inward for that word and pay attention to signals around you to find what is the one word that is speaking to you everywhere you go, or that needs to be addressed more in your life, and let's focus just on that for the next year and roll it into everything that you do. And my word is joy, and joy I just kept seeing joy, the word joy, in so many places. Of course, December, it's Christmas, and you see that on wrapping paper, right? But it was more than that. It had started before that, and it was, and so joy is the word that I chose for this year. That is the book right there, the one word that will change your life. I highly recommend. It's a very short read, and it does help you to really gel on something that, you know, some people choose words like organize and focus and leadership, but and I've had such words before, but this year it's joy. And then in these pages of the planner, it also asks, what would you like to do better? And funny enough, those are some of the same questions that were in the first training webinar a couple weeks ago. And so it was, it forced me to sit down and write them down. So I would highly recommend that anyone who hasn't actually done that from that first webinar, go back and catch it on archive and actually go through the steps and put it on paper. So my answers to those two, you know, what do I want to do better, is just to live in the moment more and not plan everything. I'm a planner. I find joy in everything and fun in everything I do. I can, you know, tear apart numbers in my head and scribble some down on paper and have my goal and be off with it, and do that with this, that, and the other, and just about everything, and I'm comfortable there. But sometimes in that process of enumerating everything, I miss the fun and stuff. So I really want to, instead of focusing on the numbers and the goals, focus on the people that the numbers and the goals are about. And then just yesterday, in one of the yoga groups that I'm in, she put up this post, and I thought, oh, there's Rafiki. Who doesn't love Rafiki? And Rafiki has a very good perspective on things, and if you look within half as much as you look around, you will find answers that far exceed what you may have otherwise found.
So true.
Nice.
Click.
And so my new vision for 2017, I was joking around with Barb when I said this, and she's like, oh, no, that's great. Let's put this on a slide. So here it is on a slide. It's me.
Looking joyful.
That is me. Lauren took that picture of me down by the lake, and me in the middle of a big, fun group is what I'm seeing for this year.
Nice. Beautiful.
There's your bulletin board right there.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh, this is great. Oh, Crystal, excellent. So thank you for your honesty and your personal sharing of what went on inside of you. It's very helpful, because then we relate it to what's inside of us. So we have one more story we want you to hear from, and that's from Angie Thomas, and her story is great. So Angie, over to you.
Hi. Okay. Crystal, I love that story, and I love that you talked about joy. I love that word. I love, love, love it. And I just picture that big crowd. I picture them carrying you like on their hands, like they do at a concert. Or even I love it. So, and I can't wait to see you in your joyful self. So, so I love that we're doing this, walking through these three stories today, because, you know, and Margaret mentioned it in her part, where Shaklee can be this amazing self-discovery journey, the best self-help course someone ever took. That's something I hear a lot from people that have achieved some of the higher ranks. when I was reflecting on what I was going to say today, I thought, it's kind of interesting because while we're on the self-help journey, which is ongoing for sure, but while we're on it, especially maybe in the beginning of it or where I am, we don't realize we're on a self-help journey.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool that we're taking kind of, Margaret and Crystal and I are in different parts of our business and our life, and that we can take a little snapshot of what that looks, and maybe it's going to relate to someone out there. So here's mine. As a little girl, I always wanted to be an actress. I practiced acting and theater things with my cousins, and I tried out for all the plays, and I never got in them. And but I always thought of being an actress. And for a minute, it was I wanted to be a nun, and then it was I wanted like a corner office in the city. But in between that time, I wanted to be an actress, and I never was able to like pull the trigger and one time I had a part in a play, I had one line, and I completely blanked on it. So it just was never something that actually happened clearly. I even visualized what I was going to say on the Dave Letterman show, like that. Like I had it all, like my outfit and everything. I could see myself going on stage and in front of crowds, and I always had that vision, and it always excited me, but it never happened. And I love the story from my husband's and my wedding reception. So like I had this whole vision of like the bridesmaids were going to do their speech and the best man, and then my dad was going to say like a welcome thing, and then I wanted Phil to kind of lead everybody in prayer, but I was going to welcome everybody first. So I had the whole speech written in my head. I had walked through it. I like was driving and adding to it, and I had the whole vision, right? It was wonderful. And we had a couple hundred people at the wedding, half of which were friends and family that I knew very well. So I was ready. I told the DJ, give me the mic after my dad talks. And so he does. He gives me the mic, and I stand up, and Phil stands up. Or no, Phil didn't stand up yet. I stand up, and I completely blanked. I could not say a word. And I just hand Phil the microphone, and I'm like, and luckily Phil is good at public speaking and enjoys it, and I had shared my vision of what I was going to say with him already, so he just got up, and we still laugh about it today, but he took over and saved the day. So I just think that's so funny, because as we come here, and here I am, and there's 260 people today, and yeah, I'm a little nervous, I'm a little shaky, but I'm comfortable here in this space, and I wouldn't have been 11 years up there kind of laughing and wishing I could just hide in that picture. So then along the way, I started my Shaklee business in 2011. I went to my first convention in Las Vegas in 2012, and for those of you that were there, you may remember there was a lot of focus on the fast track, and they had a lot of people that had achieved the fast track all the way to the highest level in like 2.2 seconds. And for a lot of people, that was probably inspiring, and it really motivated them. For my personality, it didn't motivate me. I was like, whoa, that's not me. I don't relate to that. I can't do that. So here comes my visions of speaking on stage again, and I decided that my vision was I was going to speak on stage after I had earned this success, but not on fast track. And I was going to show people that this is possible to do slowly, and you can still like be successful and stick with it and enjoy it. So here I am in my Shaklee business. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and being a stay-at-home mom was important to me from before I even had children. And told Phil on our like third date, like if you want this to work, you got to know this about me. So we had our life set up for that. And I started my Shaklee business, and I don't know if it was necessarily like taking a backseat to my life, but it was definitely not super priority. Like the kids were the priority, and so Shaklee was worked around them. And as they've become more independent and been in school more often, I was able to spend more time on my Shaklee business. But it's always been worked around, being present for my children. So that was there, and then there was a part of my business when I decided that I was just going to say yes to things, and whatever came my way, and that was inspired by Barb. And then Barb asked me if I wanted to speak on a health chat. I'm like, no, I was right after I said yes to things. So when Barb asked, Right, you know, when you're asked to speak on a health chat or when Barb asks you to do something, it's difficult to say no. And so I was also honored too. So there was a health chat here and there, and then I was a guest speaker on one of these trainings a few years ago, and the whole time I'm shaking like a leaf, my heart is beating out of my chest, and I just was completely nervous. But along the way, I would connect with other Shaklee leaders. I would get some positive feedback. My confidence grew in that area, and now I am able to speak on these trainings on a more regular basis, and I love it. And then Orlando, again, Barb pulled me up on stage during one of the workshops to talk, and apparently there was like 2,000 people in the room, and again, like I was a little nervous, and I got off stage thinking, what did I just do? But I was able to do it and not completely blank, and that for me is a huge, like, my self-help journey or whatever, like being able to have the ability to talk confidently in front of people and groups of people and to really love it, that's big for me. And it kind of fulfills this vision I've always wanted to have in my life but couldn't. So it's not just something new. I've always wanted to be able to speak in front of people. So I started to see this full picture that Shaklee gives me and all of us a space to live out who we are and who we want to be. And so it was really like, wow, these visions I had as a little girl, like I can still be that person with those visions here in Shaklee. But so I'm growing and I'm getting confidence and all these things, and my goals were always like, okay, the next rank level, okay, a little bit more PV than last month, like these kind of more like safe goals, I guess. But could I ever really visualize more than just that? Okay, so now here we are. My kids are a little older. They're both in school full time, and they're both more expensive. And they want to actually do things. I mean, I don't understand like activities. It's only going to get more expensive, right? All the moms and dads out there know it's only going to get more expensive. But I still want to be at home with them and available to them and present for them. So, and now I'm adding in these dreams for my family that include travel, that include activities for my children, overnight camp one day, study abroad one day, college funds, and then eventually my husband not having to work until he's older than he wants to be. And so I have all these visions that inspire me to want to create, to contribute to the family income, but also that need to, because what brings me great joy in life are those things, is being able to really create this family and this vision that I want. And so if I want to live a life full of joy, I am going to need to bring some income to that. And I kind of wanted to pause, and I was doing a lot of thinking about this, and I know we're running short on time, so I'll be quick. But for me, what brings me joy, that really ties into my why. And why is somewhere along, like, talking about find your why, that's something I kept getting hung up on throughout this whole journey. And my whys were, again, very safe whys. They were never whys that made me cry. Thinking about find a why that makes you cry, that doesn't do anything for me. If I put a big why out there and I didn't fully connect with it and I didn't attain it, it would make me feel defeated. So I started to think about this, that I needed to create some family income. And how am I going to do that? I could go get a job at Athleta. I love their clothes. I would love the discount. But does that bring me joy? I could go be a nanny, but does that bring me joy? What brings me real joy and purpose? And so I started to think about when I talk about things, when I talk about, I stepped outside of Shaklee. When I talk about the environment, when I talk about kids' health and other issues of wellness around that, when I talk about social justice issues, like, I get pumped up, I get excited, I want to talk about it, and I'm not quiet, so people can feel that. So that brings me joy, and that brings me purpose, and that can live within that why, right?
Beautiful.
So my why has to do with the travel and the things for the kids and college fund. All that stuff is there for sure, the tangibles. But the stuff that's inside, the stuff that will carry me through no matter how much money I'm making, that stuff, like the things I'm really passionate about. So when I started to do that, now when people say, what do you do? Well, I have a wellness business. I've partnered with Shaklee. I love working with kids. I feel very passionately about kids' health. I also have a lot of customers that have digestive issues and are in different parts of their life, but I just really, I really dig the work I do with kids. People hear that. Did you just hear my passion and my mission through that?
Yeah.
Don't you want to get and other people that share that, like they're going to want to get enrolled, right? And like I'm so excited just talking to you about this. So I found that the work that I can do, that Shaklee has given me the space, that the work I can do can give me joy and purpose. And yours might not be kids' health. Yours might be, the environment. It might be, Crystal's got a lot of environment in her passion, and it might be something different. And that's okay, because Shaklee gives us all this purpose. So I think when I look inward, when I did that inward journey, it really, I had to go step outside of Shaklee, look at that joy and purpose, look what gets me fired up and my blood boiling and my excitement and my, I don't want to be quiet about it type of feeling, and then jump that back into Shaklee. Okay, so in talking about leadership, to do that within yourself, but then also help those people that look to you for leadership, do that for them, help them walk through those. So now so aren't you glad I took a little side road there, Barb? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I was like, I know we're short on time, but I've got to talk.
That's good.
Okay, so back to the slide, I need to create this family income. I looked at the dream plan. I looked at our goals, and I would put a 4-rank level jump on my goal board, which it puts me in a very vulnerable place to say that in front of everybody on this call and in the archive that and I'm not there yet. I'm a senior director. My goal is senior executive coordinator by the end of this year, and so the things that need to happen, they haven't happened yet for that. But I'm sharing that because, for one, it scares me, and we're supposed to do scary things. But for two, because putting that out there is part of this and creating this vision, and to show you that, and using Crystal's analogy, my flower is still continuing to bloom. And so, we need to first, what both Crystal and Margaret were saying, we first need to look on the inside and feel it on the inside and have that vision on the inside to make sure it's going to happen on the outside. So that's what I feel like that's where I am on my path, is that I feel like I've done a lot of this really great, exciting inside work. And so now, I know it's all worth it, and I'm excited about it, and I'm because I've connected with what brings me joy and purpose, going outside of my comfort zone. While I know that it's totally necessary, and the things like speaking on stage and all of that, I grew because I went out of my comfort zone, but now it's I feel even more excited about going outside of my comfort zone.
It's fun out there.
It's fun. All right.
It's fun out there.
So,
it's
awesome.
Scary. It's scary and fun. Right.
Yeah. So I thought this quote was really appropriate to how I feel about all of this. And we gain strength and courage and confidence by each experience in which we really stop to look fear in the face. We must do that which we cannot, which we think we cannot. That's by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Good old Eleanor.
I love Eleanor.
Oh, yeah, it's very good. Oh my goodness. It's so. Oh, there's this great idea, but we'll save this for next week. We'll lead with this. This is a really great idea. This is going to build 1,000 PV under all your distributors that you want to get to associate, and all your associates you want to get to director, and all your directors who are looking for an increase in their income. There's this great idea Francine came up with, but we're over time, so. But I don't want to shortchange it. It's too good. All right, we'll come back to this one next week. Okay, let's go quickly to. Oh, I didn't put a name. All right, I'll do this quick. Okay, courageous leaders, time for action. So, what a fantastic session today. I've got to thank Margaret and Angie and Crystal for your honesty and your openness in letting us know what was going on inside of you that helped you get past the barricades and onto what it is that you see fulfilling your life and your life's purpose. And what was the word that we heard over and over again was joy and purpose. You know, and how exciting it is when people find that. And one of the things I didn't get to show you in the pre-call was this wonderful post from Tracy Fixon, who said, you know, as a stay-at-home mom, I don't get a 401k, but I still have college expenses, and I'm going to have wedding expenses, and I'm going to have retirement expenses, and this is something I can do, thank you, Trevor, to help us, you know, to really allow me to contribute to the financial security of my family and to do something that gives us joy. It's really, really great. You know who said it last night? Heather said that on the training. For those of you who heard that, she said most people, you know, have discover things that give them joy and give them purpose in life, and usually it's completely different from what they do to earn a living. And what a privilege it is for us when we can put those things together. So Margaret said it is time for action. We do this internal work so we can put our feet out on the pavement and get to work and put it into action. So let's start scheduling events. Remember, every 4 events we schedule will generate about 1,000 PV. So go back and review that 8 weeks to director session in betterfuturestartstoday.com. And we to remind us how to be really effective when we invite people, which is basically remember to tell them why you are hosting these events, why you are inviting them, why you think it would be important to you, and why you are doing this. Why it's important to you, this work that you have dedicated yourself to. And then fellow roosters, our role is to wake people up to the importance of prevention and wellness and to wake ourselves up to see the greatness that lies within. And with that, we will, if you take us to the schedule, Angie, I was trying to get a hold of Crystal because she had to run to lead this other group that she told us about, but I will get the name of, see if she texted me back. I'll get the author of the it's called the Inspired Year Planner. Those of you who asked, Laura just sent that to me. The planner that Laura and Crystal are using is called Inspired Year Planner. Thanks, Laura. We got a hold of Laura. What's good? And then we'll just have to, when I went in, when I Googled one word, that book came right up. So you won't have trouble with that. So here's what's coming next week. Charlene Fike talking about more about what Trevor opened that conversation for us today in the pre-call about financial needs of American families and linking that to our understanding our Shaklee business model and what it enables us to do. That's going to be a really good session. And then the following week, we will have Laura Evans, Master Coordinator, previous Executive Vice President of Shaklee, who left that position in corporate America to start her own Shaklee business, which is she's been very successful. I think she developed 10 new directors in the last year, but she was the chief architect of the Shaklee Dream Plan, and she knows all the different plans. And some of you are aware that, you know, there are some companies out there that are doing a lot of recruiting within our Shaklee circle, and she was telling me, she said, what people don't realize is that the plan for many companies does not have residual income built in the way we do. And we didn't get a chance to talk about Margaret's story today, but for 17 years, Margaret, after her husband died very suddenly, Margaret was taken into kind of a survival mode and took her off to this amazing contribution she was able to make by starting a nonprofit organization which she knew nothing about in Haiti, but because of what she had learned in Shaklee about learning that we have more within ourselves that we can do, she did, and that, was able to create a nonprofit that sometimes brought in $1 million to help these I mean, the conditions in Haiti were just so awful. Anyway, what Laura was telling me, she said that never could have happened in those other sales plans because you have to continually hustle, always be hustling. There is no residual income built in. So we're going to learn more, so we're savvy about that. Then Marjorie Fine, who could be one of the world's most wonderful people, from Shaklee Legal, she is going to join us. She has been in Shaklee, I don't know, 24 years or something. She is going to share with us some of the leadership Shaklee has had in the industry in terms of setting standards for manufacturing, setting standards for integrity in our industry, in the Direct Selling Association, in the Council for Responsible Nutrition. I mean, you're going to be very proud of this company after you hear her talk. And then, anyway, then there's more. I don't want to keep you all too long, but then we've got a woman who is a John Maxwell coach and trainer, is going to be sharing with us a whole session on John Maxwell principles. And then Barb Bihar, who is going to talk to us. She is a former stockbroker, and she's going to talk to us about investments, about what we can do with even a small Shaklee bonus check and the amazing contributions that we can make with that to our children, to our grandchildren, to our retirement funds. I mean, really, that's going to be really great, and we're going to all get so smart about financial matters that's going to build our confidence even more. Wow. Mm-hmm. What a jam-packed session we had today.
Oh, it was awesome.
Good.
Great.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Margaret, you're still there because you.
I am.
Too. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's just check real quick. Sorry, I missed the full book title. Oh, of the planner?
Mm-hmm.
Inspired Year Planner, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Inspired Year Planner. There you go. All right. Becky, have any other questions we've got to field?
Lots of people that really, really appreciated everybody's stories today, which is so great. If we could just say what Trevor's website is one more time, a few people asked about that. Let me see.
Okay, innovation, F as financial, C as in coaching.
.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay, good.
That's
okay.
fine. Yep.
And we'll also put that in learning from the masters because he offered that free session. That was very generous of him. Very nice. And Angie, did you see that comment about? Where's that thing about?
No, I'm trying to focus on just clicking.
Please. I know that you're the slide clicker today. She said, wait a minute, she said something about, please tell Angie she's so gorgeous, no words necessary at her wedding.
Oh,
that was a nice thing
my
to
best
say. Phyllis Schneider, she's your new best friend, that's right. Oh my golly, everybody, thank you for joining us and hanging in when we went a little late. We have really had some powerful stories today. And you know what? Those same stories lie within every one of us. So one of this, visualize you're going to be the next one on the training telling your story.
That's right.
That's right.
All righty. Next week, Charlene Fike. Please join us then, and we will see you all next week and have a terrific end of the month. And let's make sure everyone's earning those power bonuses. What a cool deal that is. All righty. Bye-bye. Over and out.
Bye.
Thank you.
Begin to bring in information into our strategy forum about finance, about economics, about numbers, about managing money, and so on. And because because this is going to be important for us when we're talking to people who are looking for a certain income. We want to understand what is happening in the American economy, and we want to understand how to guide people so the income that they make in our business and what they can do with it. So this is the first in a series of speakers that we're going to be asking to join us who have some savvy in this area. And today it's Trevor Shermel, who has a innovation financial coaching business. He is a financial coach and speaker, and his upline, Richard Beers. And so, Richard, I assume you're going to get us started then and introduce Trevor to us in our talk for today.
Yes, thanks, Barbara. I'm first of all delighted that you saw some value in having Trevor come in and give us a few minutes. So because of the little blip here, I'll make my introduction even shorter. Trevor joined as a member of our BNI chapter here in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And after about a month or so, he and I had a conversation, and I said, listen, are you getting enough referrals? He says, well, it's early. And I said, oh, that's a nice way of saying no. So why don't you and I spend some more time talking about what you do? So after we did, he said, I think I have a referral of someone who's a friend of mine who might be interested in the Shaklee business. And can we come over to your house? And we did. And so Kay and I met this lady, and along with Trevor came Alexis, his wife. And after about 2 hours of talking about all facets of the business, Trevor's wife, Alexis, says, well, I'd be interested in this. So as a result of that, Trevor and I have been putting on sessions of achieving independence using his process, which is really neat. And then we talk about Shaklee as one of the alternatives to create additional income. Trevor's a great guy, and I know you'll enjoy hearing his really compelling 7 strategies.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Trevor. Yeah. Get us started.
All right. Well, thank you, Barb and Richard and everyone for having me on today's webinar. I really appreciate being here. And I do have some really cool information to share with you. And as Richard said, we met through BNI. And one of the things that I really like to teach people through my coaching is how to take control of their money, how to live intentionally with their money. And usually the conversation spawns into either having to lower expenses, increase your income, and then making that extra income work to its fullest potential. So today I want to share with you the opportunity that Shaklee can be that option for many people to create that life of abundance for their families and others. But before we jump into what Shaklee can do for you, I want to share a little bit about what's today's challenges and the whole reason Barb wanted me to come on here. Excuse me. I was working on a presentation a few months ago and came across a study where it showed that 67% of people cannot cover a $500 emergency with savings. And if you think about it, there are roughly 300 million Americans in the U.S., give or take a few, but 60% of them do not have $500 to their name to cover an emergency. And today, I know, in today's society, we focus so much on putting things on credit rather than saving for a rainy day. When we do this over and over, there's no wonder that 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. We continue to live a life filled with debt. We have things and experiences like vacations, but we don't have any money, and we don't have security for our families. And if you notice, I didn't say that there's 76% of people are poor, but it's 76% of people are broke. The systems that they're using to manage their money are broken, which is why we find ourselves with too much month at the end of our money. And so I want to move on here to this next one. So what happens when we don't take control of our money? If you're like 1/3 of Americans, you probably are losing sleep, which I'm sure most of you can relate to, not getting enough sleep at night. But now add that on top of having to function in life, it's a recipe for disaster, which is why financial issues are the leading cause of divorce in America today. When 2 people aren't on the same page, they're being harassed by collectors, there's no savings in the bank, and there's little to no hope in that relational environment. In talking with Richard and learning more about the Shaklee community, the business really provides a whole nother level of being able to take control of your finances, and combining that with the principles I'm about to share with you can provide newfound hope and direction for that future. So we're going to move on to the next slide there. Awesome. So today I want to share with you just a couple of steps where you can start to begin taking action, and it will make a big difference in your financial life. And
can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I interrupt? There is one thing that I think you might want to mention here too, and that is your personal experience when you were growing up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, so the whole reason that I became a financial coach is when I was growing up, I came from a family that didn't necessarily have the best management of finances. And so my parents were working really hard day in and day out, and I was the one left at home, watching my siblings and things, but I was the one who had to pick up the phone when the debt collectors called. And growing up, I kind of followed suit of my parents and taking on debt and taking on vehicle loans and credit cards and things of that nature. And when I decided to propose to Alexis, I wanted to provide a different future for my family. I wanted to never have my children ever have to answer the phone to a debt collector, because those just aren't the loveliest of people. And so that's what really set me out on the path to find financial peace. And in doing so, I used the steps I'm about to talk about to really focus my money. There are so many different areas that we can spend our money in, whether it's spending or savings or investing, going on vacations, whatever it is. There's so many different areas. And what these steps do is they really focus your attention and your money into one specific area at a time, so that you can find the power of focusing your money. It allows you to do one thing at a time and to focus each step one at a time, taking small, achievable goals, so that in the end you can have a much larger impact and outcome. So the first one I'm going to share with you today is just to put away $1,000 in an emergency fund. Excuse me. Maybe you host, maybe combine this with the Shaklee events where you have several attendees. You're getting out there, you're hustling to make connections, you're having powerful conversations with people, and ultimately you're going to invite them to learn more. On another note, maybe you're going to sell some personal items for some quick cash. Whatever you decide to do it with great intensity. If you don't have $1,000 to your name right now, do whatever it takes to get that security for your family. What that's going to do is, within about 2 months' time, you're going to be able to put away that money, and you're going to stop the cycle of going into debt. Now, this isn't a fully funded emergency account. However, this will catch the doctor bills or the unexpected blown tire, but it's going to stop that cycle, like I said. I want you to think for just a moment. I think a lot of people can relate to this. Just imagine, if you would. When your car breaks down, what happens? You typically have a vehicle emergency, right? But not only do you have a vehicle emergency, you also have a financial emergency. But when you have some money set aside just for that reason, you know what you do? You just go to the mechanic, you fix the car, and you simply pay for the repair. It feels pretty good. When life happens and you have a plan, Visa no longer has to pick up that slack. You don't have to keep going further into debt. One of the amazing things that I want to move on to step 2 after that. I'm trying to skip through because there's a little blip here, but so step 2 is to pay off your debts using the debt snowball method. It's where we list our balances, smallest to largest, and pay them off with great intensity. Now, one of the things is with Shaklee, it provides you that extra income. When you have an extra $500, $600, $700, $800 a month or so, combined with the power of the debt snowball, you can really make some movement in your financial situation. One of the struggles I often find with people that I work with is they don't have this extra income to apply to their goals. But as you establish your business, you're in the driver's seat. That's the great thing with Shaklee. You're in control of how fast and how slow you grow and over what period of time. And it really sets you up for success and gives you the tools and training you need to make a difference in your life and others. We're going to move to the next slide here. Now, steps 3 through 6 talk about having more security for your family, retirement, college savings, and things like that. But I want to jump to number 7 real quick here and share this with you, because I was listening to the webinar last night with Heather Chastain on it, and she touched on this too. When you take time to put your household in order, you take control of your money, and you've done all these things to prepare yourself, the last thing in the step in the process is to build wealth and give outrageously. When you're in this position, and you're not in step 1 when you don't have $1,000 to your name, but you're in step 7, you can make a big impact on whatever is tugging at your heart, whatever organization is important to you. But if you don't have $1,000, how much of a financial impact, how much of a movement can you make? You know, it's sometimes we just say, oh, I wish I could help them, but that's all it is. But when you take control of your money and you live intentionally, you get to do these things.
It's powerful, Trevor.
Do you know, Trevor, I'm going to make a comment here about our friend we had one of our colleagues in Shaklee, his wife was the daughter of a minister, and they were having a conversation about a family that was in crisis, and the minister said, they were talking about how they, and this was a bit of a conversation about our business, and he asked this, when, this is Pat, by the way, those of you who know him, he asked his father, he said, what do you do when someone has an emergency? And his father said, I pray for them. And Pat said, well, you know what I do? I pray for them, and then I write a check. And that's exactly what you're saying here. It's very good.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing what you can do when you're in that position. I'm going to breeze through these next couple slides quickly here. We're a lot short on time, but one of the great things with Shaklee is right now in America, 56% of Americans in a survey done by the Associated Press had less than $10,000 towards saved to retirement, and a full 1/3 not reporting have saved a single cent towards retirement. So we labeled the slide, be one of the 44%. With Shaklee, you get to be one of those 44% who has a plan and has money for retirement. Because as you grow and build and cultivate this business, you're building your retirement. You're building something that's going to take care of your family for generations to come. And it provides just that level of security that you can't find if you're not living intentionally and not using the programs that Shaklee provides. And whether you're looking at Shaklee as just a extra income, maybe it's $10,000 a year, maybe a senior coordinator at $21,000 a year, or something in the 6-digit range. No matter what it is, when you set yourself on this path and you start working towards these goals, whatever effort you put into your Shaklee business is going to be, as you cultivate that and the effort that you put in, you're going to see that mirrored with results. And you're going to, as you work your plan, you're going to see yourself gaining more and more momentum along the way. I love the quote, a goal without a plan is just a dream. And it's so true. And people are doing this every day in Shaklee. They're building plans for success so they can turn their dreams into goals and their goals into reality. And I just love that about Shaklee. You guys can put such a path together, or a plan together, and live it. It's not just a dream. One of the last things I want to, yes. Yeah. One of the last things I want to leave you with here is Shaklee has provided my family with the ability to live the life we've dreamt of. It's going to allow my wife to live at home or work from home part-time while making a full-time income. It's going to allow her to raise our family from home and not even have to consider daycare. That's one of the reasons that really attracted my wife to Shaklee, other than being able to help people become healthy. But with this, I just want to leave you with an invitation. I want to thank everyone for having me on today's webinar, and I believe that Shaklee is going to do some amazing things for you. But if you're in the position where you're questioning your financial situation, or you want to know how you can improve, whether you make a little bit of money or a lot of money, whether you have a lot to show for it or nothing to show for it, I would like to invite you to join me and my senior coach, Maria. We want to offer you an hour of our time at no cost. We want to be able to sit down and work through a plan and begin to develop a map for you to follow. And if that's something you're interested in, I'm just going to invite you to go to our website and fill out our contact form, and one of us will be reaching out to you shortly. And just feel free to do that at your convenience, and we would love to sit down and have that conversation with you.
Thank you for that, Trevor. Thank you. We are, we're right at the top of the hour. You did a great job after our little glitch. So we can cover this other one next week, but it's relative to what we were just talking about. So let's get right to our title slide. And Becky, you want to give us a 3, 2, 1 and get started? And Trevor and Richard, thank you. That was really valuable material. Just exactly what we need. That you presented that real clearly for us too. It's wonderful. Okay, thanks.
Before we start, though, Barb, I don't see Margaret's microphone yet.
Oh no, not again.
Sure.
I'm on the phone.
Oh, good. Well,
no, there she is.
I hear you. Even
I'm on the phone.
She came up and came on the phone. I can hear you fine. You're fine, Margaret.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just checking to make sure you're there.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.